Hack's whiskers twitched nervously as he followed Jeb and the rest of the senior crew into the debriefing room at Julius 9 headquarters. The adrenaline from their encounter with the Imperial Patrol had long since worn off, leaving behind a mix of pride and apprehension. Grand Admiral Decker was waiting for them, his face a mask of calm professionalism. "Captain Sheets, impressive work out there. Your report." Jeb nodded, launching into a detailed account of their engagement. Hack listened with pride as his captain described their flawless execution and the Broken Promise's exceptional performance. As Jeb finished, Hack noticed a flicker of concern cross the Grand Admiral's face. "A job well done, indeed," Decker said. "But I'm afraid it's just the tip of the iceberg. Captain Sheets, how many Imperial scouting missions would you estimate we've encountered in the past month?" Jeb frowned, considering. "Based on the activity we've seen, I'd guess. Maybe a dozen." Decker shook his head grimly. "Try 73. A stunned silence fell over the room. Hack felt his fur stand on end as the implications sank in. 73, Killian growled, breaking the silence. "How the hell have they been getting so close without us noticing?" "That's what we're trying to figure out," Decker replied. "We've managed to repel or destroy most of them, but they're getting bolder, probing deeper into our territory." Jeb's face hardened with determination. "Sir, request permission to take the Broken Promise back out on extended patrol. We can't let them keep snooping around our borders." Decker nodded, a hint of a smile touching his lips. "I was hoping you'd say that, Captain. Your ship's performance against that patrol was exemplary. We need you out there." As the meeting concluded and they filed out of the room, Hack felt a familiar mix of excitement and nervousness bubbling up inside him. They were heading back out, into real danger this time. "You okay there?" Furball Killian asked, noticing Hack's agitation. Hack took a deep breath, steadying himself, just processing it all. 73 incursions. What are they looking for? Killian's face darkened. "Nothing good, I'd wager. But whatever it is, they'll have to go through us to get it." As they made their way back to the Broken Promise, Hack couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. They had once been prisoners, forced to race for the entertainment of others. Now, they were the first line of defense for their new home. The Broken Promise glided silently through the vast expanse of space, its sensors on high alert. Hack's paws danced across his console, constantly adjusting their course to sweep through the patrol zones most frequently probed by Imperial scouts. Anything on scanners, Hack Jeb's voice broke the tense silence on the bridge. "Nothing yet," Captain Hack replied, his whiskers twitching with concentration. "Wait, I'm picking up something. Bearing 047, Mark 23. It's faint, but definitely artificial." Lieutenant Harding chimed in from her tactical station. "Confirmed, Captain. Looks like an Imperial cruiser, Harbinger class, but something's off about its energy signature." Jeb leaned forward, his eyes narrowing as he studied the tactical display. "Damaged, maybe? Hacked, plot an intercept course. Let's get a closer look." As they approached, the image on the view screen became clearer. The Imperial cruiser was indeed damaged, with visible scorch marks along its hull, and one of its engine nacelles flickering erratically. "We've got them dead to rights," Cap Killian growled from the weapons station, his fingers hovering over the controls. "Say the word and I'll light him up." But Jeb held up a hand, his brow furrowed in thought. "Hold fire, Killian. Something's not right here. That ship's damaged, but it's not using its FTL drive. It's limping along on sublight engines." Hack's ears perked up as he realized what Jeb was getting at. "You think they're heading somewhere nearby, Captain?" Jeb nodded. "Exactly. And I want to know where." "Lieutenant Harding, is our new cloaking system operational?" "Yes, Sir," Harding replied. "All systems green." "Good," Jeb said, a determined glint in his eye. "Engage the cloak. We're going to shadow our injured friend here and see where it leads us." As the cloaking field shimmered into place around the Broken Promise, Hack felt a thrill of excitement. This was far beyond anything they'd done in their racing days, but somehow it felt right. They were no longer running a predetermined course. but charting their own path into the unknown. Hours passed as they followed the damaged cruiser, maintaining a safe distance to avoid detection. Hack's skills were put to the test as he kept them on course without the use of active sensors, relying instead on passive systems and his own intuition. Suddenly, a massive shape loomed ahead of them. Captain Hack called out, his voice filled with awe. "I'm detecting a large object dead ahead. It's an asteroid. But it's huge, at least 100 kilometers in diameter." They watched in silence as the damaged cruiser approached the asteroid, which now filled their view screen. As they drew closer, Hack could make out what looked like artificial structures on the asteroid's surface. Well, Jeb murmured. "Looks like we've found ourselves a secret Imperial base. Good work, everyone. Now, let's see if we can." His words were cut off by a sudden alarm from Hack's console. The Hibbard's paws flew across the controls, his fur standing on end. Captain Hack cried out, panic edging into his voice. "The cloaking system, it's failing." As the cloaking field flickered and died around them, Hack's sensors lit up with new contacts. Dozens of small, fast-moving ships were emerging from hidden hangars on the asteroid's surface, all converging on their position. The element of surprise was lost. The broken promise was exposed, deep in enemy territory, with a swarm of hostiles incoming. As Jeb began barking orders and the crew sprang into action, Hack knew that their true test was about to begin. Evasive maneuvers. Jeb's voice rang out across the bridge as the swarm of Imperial scout ships closed in. "Killian, defensive systems online. Hacked, get us some room to breathe." Hack's paws flew across his console, his racing instincts kicking into high gear. The broken promise responded beautifully, weaving through the oncoming ships with a grace that belied its size. "Multiple targets, closing fast," Lieutenant Harding called out, reading weapons lock from at least a dozen hostiles. "Deploying countermeasures," Killian growled, his fingers dancing across the weapons console. A cloud of metallic chaff burst from the broken promise, confusing the incoming missiles. Hack's mind raced as he plotted their course. They were outnumbered and their cover was blown, but they still had one advantage: their intimate knowledge of the asteroid field from their racing days. Captain Hack squeaked, an idea forming. "If we can make it to that dense cluster of asteroids at bearing 310, we might be able to lose some of these scouts. Their larger ships won't be able to follow us through." Jeb nodded sharply. "Do it, Hack. Everyone, brace for some tight maneuvering." The broken promise dove towards the asteroid cluster, weaving between massive space rocks with precision that would have been impossible in their old racing ship. Behind them, several of the pursuing scouts misjudged their approaches, slamming into asteroids or colliding with each other in their haste. "It's working," Hack exclaimed, his whiskers quivering with excitement. "We've lost almost half of our pursuers." But their reprieve was short-lived. As they emerged from the other side of the asteroid cluster, they found themselves face to face with the damaged Imperial cruiser they had been following earlier. "Incoming fire," Harding shouted. "They're targeting our engines." "Killian, return fire," Jeb ordered calmly. "Target their weapons systems. Hacked, get us behind them. Use their bulk as a shield against the remaining scouts." The bridge shook as energy blasts from the cruiser grazed their shields. But Killian's return fire was devastating, years of targeting practice in the races paying off as he systematically disabled the cruiser's weapon emplacements. Hack guided them into position behind the now crippled cruiser, using it as cover against the incoming scout ships. From this vantage point, they had a clear view of the massive asteroid base. Captain Hack reported, his eyes wide as he took in the sensor readings. "I'm detecting multiple hangar bays, defense turrets, and some kind of large energy signature at the core of the asteroid. It's like nothing I've ever seen before." Jeb's face was grim as he surveyed the tactical display. "Looks like we've stumbled onto something big here, folks. Whatever that base is hiding, the Empire clearly doesn't want anyone to know about it." As the remaining scout ships regrouped for another attack, Jeb made a decision. "We've seen enough. Hacked, plot us a course out of here. We need to get this information back to Julius 9. But as Hack began to input the escape vector, alarms blared across his console. "Captain, we've got a problem. That energy signature from the asteroid is spiking, and it's interfering with our FTL drive." The crew of the Broken Promise watched in growing apprehension as the asteroid base began to glow with an eerie light. Whatever secrets it held, they were about to face them head-on, whether they were ready or not. The race to uncover the Empire's plans and to survive long enough to report them was reaching its most critical phase. FTL's down, multiple hostiles incoming, and we're sitting ducks, Killian growled, his fingers dancing across the weapons console. "Just like old times, Cap." Despite the gravity of the situation, Jeb allowed himself a grim smile. "You said it, old friend. All right, team, this is what we've trained for. Hacked, get us moving. Evasive pattern Omega. Killian, light him up." The Broken Promise surged forward, its sublight engines pushed to the limit. Hack's paws flew across his console, guiding the ship through a series of maneuvers that would have been impossible in their old racing vessel. Energy blasts from the incoming scout ships filled space around them, but Hack's expert navigation kept them one step ahead. Meanwhile, Killian's return fire was devastating, each shot finding its mark with deadly precision. "Shields at 78%, and holding," Lieutenant Harding reported. "Enemy numbers are thinning, but that energy interference from the asteroid is getting stronger." Jeb's mind raced, considering their options. They couldn't run, couldn't hide, and were quickly running out of enemies to fight. There was only one direction left to go. "Hack," Jeb called out, his voice filled with determination. "Plot us a course straight for that asteroid. Whatever's causing that interference, I want a closer look." Hack's eyes widened in surprise, but he didn't hesitate. "Aye, Captain. Course plotted. But we'll be exposed to their defense turrets." "Leave that to me," Killian interjected, a fierce grin on his face. "I've got a few tricks up my sleeve." As they closed in on the asteroid, its surface details became clearer. Massive hangar bays yawned open, defense turrets swiveled to track their approach, and at the center of it all, a pulsing energy signature that made Hack's fur stand on end. Deploying countermeasures, Killian announced. A swarm of small, agile drones burst from the Broken Promise, each one emitting signals that mimicked their ship's signature. The asteroid's defenses went haywire, unable to distinguish the real target from the decoys. In the chaos, the Broken Promise slipped through, drawing ever closer to the heart of the Imperial base. Captain Hack called out, his voice tight with excitement and fear. "I'm getting clearer readings on that energy signature. It's like nothing I've ever seen. Some kind of hyper-advanced power source, maybe? Or a weapon?" Jeb leaned forward, studying the readings. "Whatever it is, it's big. And if the Empire's gone to these lengths to hide it, you can bet it's not good news for the rest of the galaxy." As they closed to within 100,000 kilometers of the asteroid's surface, the full scale of the Imperial operation became clear. This wasn't just a base, it was a fortress, a staging ground for what could only be a massive military operation. "We've seen enough," Jeb announced. "Hacked, start recording every scrap of data you can. Killian, keep those defenses busy. We need to get this information back to Julius 9, no matter what." The Broken Promise hung in space, a tiny speck against the backdrop of the massive asteroid base. They were vastly outnumbered, cut off from reinforcements, and facing technology beyond their understanding. But as Hack looked around at his crewmates, at Jeb's determined face, Killian's fierce grin, Harding's focused concentration, he felt a surge of confidence. They had faced impossible odds before and come out on top. This was just another race, albeit with higher stakes than ever before. As the asteroid's defenses regrouped for another assault, Hack's paws hovered over his console, ready for whatever came next. The Empire's secret was laid bare before them, and the fate of the galaxy might well rest on their ability to get this information home. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you loved it. Please remember to subscribe if you did like it so you can see more videos like this. And please give us a like and a comment too. I'll see you in the next one.